Hey, what's up guys? It's time for another discussion video on Season 4. Still on the topic of neutral, but this time we're going to be talking about anti-airs. Joining me again is Mir. What's going on, man?
Hey guys, welcome back to us complaining, I guess.
Yeah, back to complaining. I've been waiting to make this video for a while now, Mir. I have beef. I've been having beef with this all the way since Season 1. I mean, I've complained about it sometimes, but the anti-airs in this game, man, they really need to be improved, and I'm hoping for that in Season 4. I got a ton of beef, but one of them, in general, is just that anti-airs just do way too little damage, or give very little reward, and I really starting to feel this playing so much Sagat lately, man. And I guess it's a two-parter too, because not only do anti-airs do such little damage in Street Fighter 5, man, even in Street Fighter 4 in some cases. The jump-ins in general do way too much damage. So you have like this crazy like risk-reward problem with the game, you know, where you can jump in a million times, but if you land just one, you'll do massive damage and even put the opponent in the corner, and it'll be bad news bears. So I don't know if this has ever happened to you, Mir, in general.
Oh, I mean, I guess the problem is twofold in the sense that, like you said, anti-airs do too little damage, but at the same time, they're either unreliable,
Yeah,
or they're just, like they're just not worth using in the way they're intended. Like, you know, if I DP someone as an anti-air, I would expect that I get some, actual reward from that, like, maybe resetting back to neutral, or just a lot of damage, right? Like you said with Sagat, unless you have a Tiger Scar, you just don't get any of that. The damage is just too low for the risk you taking throwing a fireball every time.
Right. And I mean, I'm not saying that you should never jump in Street Fighter. Of course, it's definitely a thing, but when it gets to the point where the opponent just knows that it's worth it to just randomly do it, because almost every character could do their best combo from a jump in, right? And Mir, you should have saw this match I had on the stream, man. It was crazy. I played this Mika player, man, with Sagat, and he must have jumped on me like 12 times. I anti-aired him like 99% of the time, but he'd land one jump in, and then it was lights out. And it was like that through the whole match, and I thought he was trolling me, but he wasn't. You know, and we're in the diamond rank here, and it's crazy. It's almost like the system just encourages people to play this way. I don't think, that's what Capcom intended, wanting a stronger neutral, of course. So, I mean, if you look back, when we first played Street Fighter 5 back at E3 in the alpha stages of the game, one of the big things you notice is that the damage was so high in Street Fighter 5 in general, off single hits in anti-airs. I mean, an uppercut with Ryu back in the alpha stages of Street Fighter 5 did like 200 damage. It was crazy. And then you don't want to jump.
with full invincibility too, remember?
Yeah, with full invincibility, yeah. And you can use the heavy version if you wanted to, So it's pretty crazy.
I mean, we're going to different extremes right here, right? Like the crazy damage of alpha, maybe it's not something we want to see again, but at the same time, you want that reliability and reward when you successfully anti-air someone,
absolutely,
which is what we're looking for.
Yeah. But, of course, we can't just say every anti-air in Street Fighter 5 is bad. There's, of course, some very good ones, especially those fast one-button anti-airs that just make the pressure too strong with the character. The biggest offender of this, I swear, is Cammy, because the thing about Cammy is her back medium punch, which is probably not even intended to be an anti-air.
I mean, it doesn't even have an anti-air hitbox.
Yeah,
it's just so fast.
Right. It's 5 frames. I think the anti-air portion is 6 frames. It's so extremely fast, and it allows Cammy to basically just mindlessly press buttons on you while you're in the corner or whatever, and if you happen to try to jump out of it to get out of the pressure, she has a million years to just press a single button on you and stop you and not really worry about the ranges. And that's the thing about Street Fighter 5 is when people are using like these slower normals on you, or they're pressing too many buttons, a jumping is supposed to be like a viable tactic, right? That they have to worry about. But not when you have really, really fast one-button anti-airs. And when a character like Cammy hits you with these anti-airs, she can get like a 50-50 left-right on you, There's other characters. Sorry, go ahead.
And the thing is not just that the button is fast. Is the fact that Cammy, being a very agile character, like by design, the recovery on her moves is just like not as massive as other characters.
Right.
So she always gets to do it, and she also has a DP, by the way. Like,
Oh, I know, Mira. I don't want to make this video all about Cammy. She's just such a great example for it. But there's other characters too, like Ibuki. You know, if you look at all the top tier characters, Ibuki, the back medium punch, Akuma, the back hard punch, right?
Yeah, they're all very fast.
Yeah. Guile, crouching, hard punch. I mean, the Monot, these characters all have pretty simple anti-airs, right? And like I said, you start to notice this when you place the Gat. We're really late in the season here. There's Birdie, crouching medium punch. I mean, there are some really good anti-airs that when you hit the opponent, they're in a sticky situation, right? When they hit the ground. So
yeah, especially with characters like, you know, Birdie, that you just air reset in front of them. You have to guess if a command grab is coming or whatever else, right?
Right, absolutely. And I think, you know, so I guess we have this situation here, Mir, where we have anti-airs that are either too weak or too strong. You know, we kind of have to level it up. And I know it might kind of sound kind of boring if we kind of made every anti-air the same, because that's not what Street Fighter is, right? There should be some characters that have to rely on their mobility to deal with things rather than just anti-airing really strong, right? But I feel like, like I said, the way that you want this game to have stronger neutral, right? And you just want to make it so that there's not so much robbery, because like I said, a jump in Street Fighter 5 is just too much damage for every character. So it has to be reliable, and like you said, Mir, reliable at the least, right? Not even talking about damage.
Yeah, so like you can still have characters, you know, like say, you know, Birdie, and you want your crouching medium punch to be reliable, but you know, as a balance, you keep it low damage.
Yeah.
And then you have characters like, say, you know, zoners like Sagat, Guile, and with those characters, you want to be rewarded when someone jumps in on you, because it's your job to keep them out, right?
Right.
So it would just fit the character, like the archetype better, to have a very rewarding anti-air.
Yeah.
And you know, in the case of Gal, for example, you do have powerful anti-airs, but other characters suffer more from this just because they're, you know, otherwise their offense or defense is weak without a really reliable and powerful anti-air.
I just need to put some fear into my opponent. I want my opponent to be like, man, maybe I shouldn't jump again. You know, I want to have that mindset, but it doesn't seem to be there right now. And of course, there's some characters in the game that have no anti-airs at all, man.
Yeah, or rather, maybe they do have them, but they're just so situational that they don't count.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
there's characters
greatest example of all, is Chun-Li.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, this is a neutral-based character.
Yeah.
And you got this great button, which is back hard kick, which is supposed to be, you know, an excellent anti-air, right? Because it's so tall, it's relatively fast. But then an opponent empty jumps on you, and you just whiff it in the air, and you explode when before it lands. And it punishes you.
Don't forget about Vega, man. Vega's got some anti-air issues as well. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they were like, "Oh, this move is an anti-air." The joke's on you. It's not.
And there's some character with kind of clunky anti-airs like Alex or Karin, and they gotta use meter to really get that anti-air going. So it's definitely interesting. But enough whining, Mir. I guess it's time for us to present our solutions as usual. That's how we do. I mean, I guess this one's pretty obvious what we're asking for, right? Anti-air specials in general should do much more damage when used raw. So the idea is that if you combo into that special, it won't do as much damage. But if you just use it raw, use it as specifically as an anti-air as it should, then it should do bonus damage. Is one solution.
Yeah, exactly. So you could have a system in place where, I don't know, like a DP scales the combo for an additional hit or something like that to keep the combo damage and, you know, the same.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you said, if you anti-air someone, then you should be rewarded with additional damage. And especially if you get a counter hit, right? Like a counter hit on a big single hit normal, sorry, not normal, special. That would be extremely rewarding, of course, because the 20% extra.
Right, because special moves in general, obviously, the inputs are harder to do, right? You have to do a full range motion into a button rather than just pressing a button, and this makes it tricky when the opponent is crossing you up, for example. Then you have to do an auto-correct or a cross-cut motion, right? And of course, you need to know your ranges. You know, how many times you try to anti-air like Abigail or something, and his jump is so shallow, and you just completely whiff, and then you're dangling from the air. And then, you know, if a Cammy or something does their anti-air and they miss, they're not going to get crush countered like a DP would, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And the and the trade-off for special moves being reliable as we want those special moves to be is that of course they have usually some kind of invulnerability to, say, upper body invulnerability or stuff like that. So that's how you add on top the fact that you have to do a motion, right? You also have an additional property,
right,
that will help you,
right,
as opposed to normal attacks, of course.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, the next solution, Mir, this was your idea here.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that
you're throwing me on the bus or something?
No. I'm just saying. I wrote it down, man. It's on the certain normal attacks, specifically like heavies, probably cause juggle states.
Yeah, like as opposed to requiring a counter hit in most cases, which is not always possible because a lot of these moves actually are designed in a way where the crush counter window is just the first few frames, so not when you use it in an anti-air scenario, right? Like, say for example, Guile's Crouching Fierce is like this. Unless it's very deep, you won't get the crush counter even on a counter hit.
Right.
So what you can do is to make these normals more rewarding. Like I said, you can just, in case of an airborne connect, you just get a juggle state which you can follow up with a special or another normal. Like a good example is, like, some characters already have this. It's just that unfortunately it's usually on very slow moves, like Sagat's 4 hard kick, right? Sagat's 4 hard kick hits you in the air, then you can follow up with a DP. But you could have it on, say, standing hard kick without requiring a crush counter.
Right.
And so that will net you more damage, and of course, like, even Oki in certain scenarios. So yeah, that would be interesting to see.
Because the downside of heavy normals, of course, is that they're mostly slow, very, very slow, and hard to do in a pinch, which is the way it should be, of course. Because like I said, I don't like the idea of constantly pressing buttons and not worrying about the opponent jumping at any time. That's what balances it out, is when your anti-airs are slower. So I want to, exactly. I'm basically targeting players that are just jumping raw, just jumping for no reason. Yeah. And that's when it should be.
Exactly. You would use a heavy normal to anti-air just like only if you baited the jump, if you knew that it was coming.
And there's already some characters with some good anti-air rewards already in the game that we should point out, of course. Yurin is a great example that basically what you just described, with a heavy normal causing a juggle state. Follow up. We have Alex, surprisingly, his crouching hard punch also puts him into a juggle state. Akuma's back hard punch, and then even G, recent new character as well. And we even have in some cases like Zeku with his horizontal, which is tough to do.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true, but you can get good follow-up from it, and Oki, which is, how it should be for most characters. It's just curious that most of these characters are not zoning characters at all. Like Yuri and Alex, Zeku, even.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's interesting that the really rewarding anti-airs are not on zoners.
Yeah, that is interesting. Really weird. So I guess one more thing that we should point out is that there's another issue with just the anti-airs, but they should also buff the jumping normals in Street Fighter V, especially the cross-ups, because a lot of the jumping attacks in this game, I'd say like 80% of them have terrible hurt boxes. Absolutely terrible. And that's part of the reason why people are getting away with, like, why Cammy's getting away with back medium punches and anti-air, or other weird things. We know that Capcom has targeted and nerfed light attack anti-airs across the board. They nerfed Nakali's light punch twice. Guile's crouching light punch, Bison's crouching light punch, Chun-Li's light kick. You get the idea. Ryu standing light punch. These, like, of course, were never intended as anti-airs, but part of the reason why they worked is because the jumping normals hurt boxes suck. And they still do suck, even after all these nerfs. So I think Capcom needs to look at this from both angles here to really stop this. Because, like I said, if you jump correctly, you should be rewarded as well if they're using the incorrect anti-air. Everyone should be using
They should probably expand on what they did with Season 3, where they buffed, for example, the heavy jumping attacks hitboxes, but at the same time they also buffed anti-airs, so that when you use the anti-air, it actually works even against the newly buffed heavy normals, right?
Right.
So they could do the same thing for mediums and lights, and at the same time also buff the anti-airs again, right? So that when those interact with each other, you have anti-airs that actually win.
Yeah.
Or are worst to trade instead of getting beat out.
Anything else you want to mention, Ray?
Well, I mean, we pretty much already said everything. Like, there's some good examples of good anti-airs in the game, but there should be more. That's what we're saying. Like, we should have more good anti-airs, especially in zoning characters. That they need them,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
I think one closing thing I want to say is that, like, we're talking about a lot of neutral here for Season 4. And, at the end of the day, the meta of Street Fighter V right now is very dependent on strong V-trigger comebacks. It's a big deal, and I think a stronger neutral in the game will help stop the robbery meta in general, because how many times we outplayed our opponent for 80% of the round, and then we lose because we got hit by a single hit into V-trigger, right, into bam, you're dead. And I think a stronger neutral will help us either stun the opponent or just outright beat him before they even have the chance to just activate V-trigger like that, if the neutral is stronger.
Yeah, it would be harder for them to just randomly get in, right? Like, abuse some faulty normal or anti-air and just get in and push their offense with V-trigger,
Because, you want to perform well from beginning to end of the match, not just rely at the end every single time. That'd be really silly. really silly.
Yeah, at the end of the day, what we want, like we said before, it's reliability, because it really helps good players be good players. Like, if you have reliable tools, then you can just use them without fear of, like, just random situations happening against, not in your favor, but in your opponent's favor.
So guys, let us know in the comments below, what do you think about this whole anti-air thing? Do you guys have any ideas yourselves to it, and you think it would improve neutral if anti-airs were a lot stronger? Of course, subscribe to the channel, guys, and like the video. It really helps out, and me and Mir will continue with more Season 4 discussion videos in the future. If there's anything you guys want us to talk about as well, don't be afraid to mention in the comments below too. So, Mir, thanks again for joining me, and until next time, guys, take care.